With regards to the situation in Iran, around this time yesterday, Michael Flynn came to the podium and took a lot of folks by surprise. And then we heard from Peter just a few moments ago that everything is on the table with regards to Iran. How concerned should we be?
Let's explain this to our viewers. There are sets of sanctions that have been imposed under the United Nations against Iran to prevent it from using its ballistic missile technologies to test ballistic missiles. It has consistently continued to test ballistic missiles, and indeed, Craig, just a few days ago, it tested a cruise missile. Now, I think the Obama administration left a really sloppy mess for the president with respect to how to enforce these United Nations sanctions. The Obama administration consistently turned a blind eye to the provocations of Iran in the Middle East and, in fact, the provocation against our own naval ships. One of the things that I think, Craig, that most viewers are unaware of is within days of the president's inauguration, Iran sent a series of small ships to harass American battleships in the Persian Gulf. So this is ongoing provocation by Iran. So I think you're going to find bipartisan support to have the president stand tough and to put a warning notice down on Iran that this can no longer be continued.
It's an odd series of events because Iran has not done something dramatically new. I mean, it's important to remember the missiles are not part of the nuclear deal. The nuclear deal is, as the word implies, about the nuclear program. Iran is a country. It has it has a military program. It has a defense budget. It develops missiles. We don't like that, but there was no international consensus that this was so far outside the pale that Iran was going to be sanctioned for it. The sanctions were all about the nuclear program. This is Iran having a sophisticated defense program, and so I'm not quite sure what where this leads. You could put in additional U.S. sanctions, but you'd hope there's a strategy here, because the key gain from the Iran nuclear deal is that Iran's nuclear program, by everyone's estimate, has been frozen. 98% of their fissile material was destroyed. You want to maintain that freeze on the program.
Right.
Ever since the Obama administration signed the nuclear agreement, it has been very reluctant to do anything about the other aggressions that Iran has been involved in, meaning non-nuclear stuff, meaning supporting terrorists and terrorism around the region, meaning supporting proxies, and of course the most important is the illegal ballistic missile launches which threaten Israel, Europe, and ultimately the United States. In a sense, the Obama administration was self-deterred. It was afraid that if it imposes sanctions or if it does anything more drastic, Iran will pull out of the nuclear agreement. It's already collected up front billions of dollars and revived its economy, and also cashed in on the dissolution of the international sanctions, which will never be reinstated. China and Russia won't go along with it. So what the Trump administration is doing is saying, those days are over. We are not afraid of you doing something to the nuclear deal. We are going to respond point by point to the violations in terms of aggression in the region, and especially the ballistic missile launches, which we object to, and we are going to punish, it appears to be, for now, with sanctions.
The previous administration was reticent to push back against Iran, in part because the nuclear agreement was the centerpiece of the policy. What I think you're seeing here, and I think it's correct, is saying, yeah, the nuclear agreement's important. We're not going to rip it up. But there's an entire range of Iranian behavior, whether it's in Yemen, whether it's in Syria, whether it's in Iraq, whether it's in Lebanon, whether it's with Hamas, across the board. Iran now is a regional threat. And I think Joe is right. This is a signal to the Saudis, the UAEs, essentially, that we are going to partner. And we're not going to be inhibited by the nuclear agreement from doing things like arming different friends, introducing new sanctions, and conceivably under certain circumstances using military force. So I think this is a signal. Yes, there's a new sheriff in town. Again, my only concern is not with the thrust of the policy, is I don't want it to become a U.S. versus Iran policy, and that's where I would have spent a little bit more time quietly trying to build an international front. The Europeans in particular, the French in particular, are quite tough about Iran, so we shouldn't ignore the possibility possibilities of getting them on board.
I've said this on the show repeatedly. We have an opportunity with Sunni Arab states that we've never had before, because they don't see Israel as their greatest enemy. They see Iran as their greatest enemy. This sends a powerful message, not just to rednecks like me from Northwest Florida. This sends a powerful message to Saudi Arabia, to the UAE, to Egypt, to Jordan, to Sunni allies who feel like they have been put on the back burner for the past 8 years. This is laying down a marker for a lot of people, from Birmingham to Bahrain. How's that?